Hello and welcome to the Dune Minute Podcast, your place to deep dive minute by minute into the cinematic adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune. I'm one of your hosts, John.
And I'm Zach. Did you do the last one?
No, you did.
Huh. All right.
I'm pretty sure. See,
Hey, whatever, man. You did it. You did it well. You didn't stutter once. It's great.
Now I am full of self-doubt. And we're not going to stop recording this because we're here. So last minute we ended with figuring out how much this little meeting ended up costing. Though we don't know if it's entirely for one way or the whole round trip. And this minute we're going to be ending with a question.
All right.
So starting this minute off in the first second, Thufir Hawat confirms that this is a 1.46 million 62 Solari round trip.
Whew, God, I was worried all night about that, John.
Round trip cost. Still very expensive, but you know what? Save gas where you can.
Yeah, right.
I just think it's funny that Thufir Hawat, and with last episode we talked about how mentats are human computers, but I think it's funny that he is so precise that it's like, yeah, 1.46 million and 62 Solaris. He could have just said 1.46. We get it. Like, all of us do this where it's like you see something and it's like 35.74 is your total bill, and it's like, yeah, I spent $36.
Not
Thufir Hawat.
No. They pay to be. They are paid to be exact.
We get more close-up shots of the royal party. We talked about them a little bit last episode, and by a little bit I mean a lot of bit last episode. But the herald of the change, or herald as we have come to know him,
very creatively called him last episode, herald.
Harold stops and takes a bow to Leto, who in turn gives him a nice little head nod, and pulls out the coolest scroll.
Listen, I know a lot of things in the Dune universe have kind of gone back to feudalistic times.
Yeah.
Especially off the sword fighting and like a lot of just the way the political structure is.
The fact that we have dukes and barons. And
yeah. But they're not computerless.
They could have sent an email.
They could also have like carried this out on an iPad or something.
I mean, like, we found out that Paul listens to podcasts. Yeah. So,
and like, the Herald of the Change comes out. He does his same speech, which is a great speech. Love the speech.
Yep.
And then he turns his iPad sideways and was like, "Would you like to give a tip?" 25%.
Tipping culture is getting really out of fucking hand.
And then he's like, no, we didn't even need to do this. I'm not giving you a tip. And then he just signs, in a bad signature, and then we leave. That's what it could have been.
Everyone just draws a line or an X. That's it. Or a smiley face or some shit.
Yeah.
Speaking of his speech, by the way.
Yes.
So I wrote it down exactly because I think there's a lot of important bits in it, and I want to go over all of that for this minute. So I'm not going to read it with the amount
I thought
of
you were going
bravado.
to. I was excited.
Sorry, I'm going to ruin your fun. I'm not going to be a robot about it either, though. But by the grace of Shaddam IV, by the grace of Shaddam IV, he doesn't say Shaddam IV, Shaddam IV of House Carino, ascendant to the Golden Lion throne of Padisha, Emperor of the known universe, I stand before you as Herald of the Change. We are witnessed by members of the Imperial Court, representatives of the Spacing Guild, and a sister of the Bene Gesserit. The Emperor has spoken. House Atreides shall immediately take control of Arrakis and serve as its steward.
And serve as its stud. That's my approximation of that last line.
First note. Super cool looking scroll. It's black paper with gold ink.
That's really cool.
I mean, I would expect nothing less from a guy that sits on the Golden Lion throne.
Oh, yeah. He sounds ostentatious.
But I want to talk about Shaddam IV and House Carino.
Sure.
So, first and foremost, House Carino, been around for a long time.
Oh, yes.
Like, even before the Butlerian Jihad, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yes.
So they've been in charge for a little bit. Shaddam has been emperor for what, like at least 70 years at this point?
Yeah, a long time. He was emperor when the old duke was in charge.
Yeah.
Like, and the Karinos have been emperors for hundreds of years before that. But this new iteration of the Karinos was put in around when the old duke was in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a while.
I have in my notes here that House Carino was originally established 88 BG after the Battle of Corin.
Yes.
Which is where they took the name Carino. Previously, they were the stewards of Seleucia. I guess they still are the stewards of Seleucia Secundus.
Yep.
We will talk more about Seleucia Secundus when we get there. But they don't live there, or Shaddam doesn't live there currently. He doesn't.
No.
He doesn't rule the empire from.
No, that's just like where the family seat is.
Yeah.
I guess the throne, the actual like the emperor's planet is a planet called Khitan.
I mean, I guess if we were to compare it to Game of Thrones, you know, the Lannisters, even though they all live in King's Landing, their seat is
Casterly Rock.
Casterly Rock, yes.
Yeah, exact same thing.
But yeah, so the Golden Lion throne, House Carino's sigil is a golden lion, so it's not a literal golden lion as far as I know. It would be really cool if your throne was just on the back of this giant ass golden lion with like its mouth, you know, in a giant maw or whatever. But I don't think we're ever given a description of the throne itself.
Not that
it's not important, like
not that
like the Iron Throne is to Game of Thrones.
Yeah, no.
Padisha is a very interesting title,
which is it's a very interesting pronunciation of that word. It's never how I've either heard it or like have it in my head from reading it. I always said Padishah.
Yeah. Well, you would think because the Persian word Shah for emperor.
Sure. That's what I was thinking of. Yes, of course I knew that.
But yeah, so the Persian origin of the word Shah, and Padisha supposedly translates to Master King.
Okay.
All
right.
So,
well,
but
in my head and in my head, and when I talk about it, I will probably still say Padishah from time to time.
It's just the way that you've read it for a million years.
So, future apologies for that flip-flopping of pronunciations that I'm sure I will do.
Sure. We get closer views of the members of the Imperial Court as well.
Yep.
The first time I saw it, I got hella Daft Punk vibes off of all of their.
Sure.
I think it's cool too that like they all maintain that black, white, and like crimson, burgundy color scheme.
Yeah.
But they all have individual clothing and individual helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
Not that we will ever know the meaning of those helmets or anything, or if there's meaning even attached to it. They probably were just like, hey, let's do something cool and unique. And they did, and it looks really fucking cool, and I dig it.
Yep. Just nice background flavor.
Yeah. We also see more detail on the Spacing Guild members as well. Just the amount of like ornate everything, which given the amount of money that the Spacing Guild makes, that makes sense for them to have just like hella expensive like gold woven.
They're just decked out and everything. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And then the biggest contrast to them is the sister of the Bene Gesserit, who has her big box hat and just all black shawl, face covering and everything.
Oh, yeah. And this sister of the Bene Gesserit gets an intense look from Jessica.
Yes.
They cut from seeing her, seeing the Bene Gesserit sister over to Jessica, and she's like, who the fuck? She's like, oh, hell, I did not expect one of y'all to be here right now.
Yeah.
Because they're of the same group. You know?
They are, but it's really interesting because like Jessica clearly doesn't like the traditional sister garb
no.
because she's in a very like sky blue,
Yeah.
uh, dress. She still has her own scarf and everything, but it is not awkward, boxy
Right.
Chinese takeout shape.
Yeah. I don't know if this is supposed to signify like there's beef between the two of them. I don't know if it's even supposed to signify that they know each other. I think it's just that they are of the same, group, same training, and
they're co-workers,
right? In a sense,
yeah.
So yeah, there's just tension there.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bene Gesserit, and there is a lot of information to cover on the Bene Gesserit. Way too much to talk about in one go.
We could probably have a standalone like hour.
Oh, of course, hour or two probably. But I just want to kind of sprinkle in some nuggets,
sure,
there, here and there about their history. So again, all this is according to the encyclopedia, and the Bene Gesserits. It says that they trace their history back to the Terran prehistory. So that's Earth as we know it.
Yep.
Our history. So
our prehistory.
Yeah. So it's like the 30,000 years that we get to take back, or we have to take to get back to current day, and then back even a couple thousand years more. So they've been around for a long time. They are, throughout that entire time, they've been a matriarchal group. And the encyclopedia states that they were kind of came about in the area of ancient Mesopotamia.
Okay, so they've been around since Babylon and Ur and all of these ancient city-states. So they've literally been pulling the strings for the entire history of humanity.
Not necessarily pulling the strings.
Okay.
That's just how far they can trace their history back.
Got it.
Because one of the unique traits about the Bene Gesserit is that if you train in their ways long enough and go undergo certain rituals and rites, you are able to obtain the genetic memory of the female side. So women go through these certain rites and they can remember all of their past lives.
Jesus Christ.
Or at least the past lives of other members in their family line who have gone through that same rite.
Okay, so it's only the memories of the Bene Gesserit that they receive,
or the people who've gone through the training and like have done this. So they've been doing this. They've
either way, it's still a shitload of people.
Yeah. So that, which is a really cool ability. That is, they call it genetic memory in the encyclopedia, and I think maybe in the books they call it genetic memory as well. But it's really cool. I mean, and that ability was once something that all members of this, particular group had.
Mm-hmm.
But it was over time, the male members of that society lost the ability to do this. The encyclopedia makes some guesses at like why.
Okay.
This was why the male side lost it. And I found two of the reasons really funny. Or one made sense. One was kind of funny. One was they didn't like being able to remember what it felt like to die in battle.
I mean, I guess, sure.
Yeah. And the other reason, which was kind of I don't know if it was meant to be a joke, but I found it kind of funny, is when they were able to remember, when the male side was able to remember their past genetic history, they could remember the female side as well. So they like, it was kind of a dual thing. And the men did not like the feeling of giving birth.
Only one of the most painful things ever.
Yeah. And I was like, these little bitches.
Little bitch.
So over time, that particular gene that allowed the male side of the Bene Gesserit, or at least that ethnic group, I don't think they were called Bene Gesserits back then.
What would become the Bene Gesserit?
Yeah, that the ability for the male side to have this ability was just lost. It was kind of bred out.
Sure.
And one of the major goals of the Bene Gesserit is to try to establish that male side again, to try to reconnect the to get that ability back into their the male side of their lineages and stuff. So we'll talk a lot more about this. There's so much more information to cover about Bene Gesserit, but I'll just sprinkle that in as we go. And so that's a little bit about that.
Cool. I dig it. Our minute ends after Harold gives his little spiel. Our minute ends with a question to presumably Leto Atreides, since he is the Duke of Caladan and the leader of House Atreides. Do you accept? And this isn't a question.
No.
Leto knows that this isn't a question.
No.
And he takes a moment and just has a deep inhale moment and is like, all right, here we go. And that's where our minute ends.
We don't get to hear his answer.
Nope. So you'll have to come back tomorrow as we round this week out, and we'll talk about Leto's answer and the future of House Atreides and what it means.
That's right. Any more notes on this one?
Nope.
That's it. All right.
We're all good for this week. So.
Good deal. We'll be back here tomorrow with the Dune Minute Podcast.
We will be here.
See ya.